quite often there is a link there. If you are in persistent pain, if you're in constant pain, it can disrupt your sleep patterns. But there are some things that are fairly easy to implement, things you can start doing, things you can stop doing, that are going to perhaps improve your quality of sleep. So the first one I'd like to talk about is caffeine. A lot of people enjoy a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and if you're a regular coffee or caffeine taker, you probably don't realize the strong effects that caffeine has on you. But suffice to say, if you are prone to a cuppa, and I am, I know that, you need to be aware that if you are drinking any time sort of into the afternoon, after sort of 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it is going to have an effect on your ability to get off to sleep or to stay in a persistent sleep state. So it's worth looking at that and cutting out the caffeine that you have in the evening, and certainly having a cup of tea just shortly before you go to bed is probably not a very good idea. Your sleep doesn't stay constant throughout the night. It goes through a cycle of shallow sleep into deep sleep, what they call REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, into dream state, and then it rises back up, and it follows this sort of undulating pattern all the way through the night. So you shouldn't be too concerned if you do wake up, because quite often, very, very quickly, literally within seconds, if you wake, maybe roll over, whatever, you can fall back into that cycle very, very easily. If you do find that you're struggling to sleep, then it's fairly pointless trying to stop it from happening or getting concerned about it. You can get up, do walk about, go and find something to read, get a book, read or do some activity until you feel ready to sleep again. One of the things that you should perhaps avoid is the blue light that you might get from mobile phones and watching television. So it's much better to pick up a book or a Kindle and read from that than it is to go and watch something. It stimulates different parts of the brain, and it stimulates, the blue light has been shown to replicate what happens within daylight, and therefore it's kind of tricking your brain into thinking that it's still daylight, upsets what's called your circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is just the rhythm that plants and animals have to judge when it is daylight, when it is nighttime, when it's time for animals to be awake, and when it's time for them to be asleep. And unfortunately, what happens is with modern electric light, with televisions, with tablets and devices like that, is it kind of can trick your brain into thinking that the daylight is a lot more extended. The difficulty with that is the brain does need a chance to shut down. It needs a chance to process what's happened during the day, make sense of the information that we've gathered throughout the day. It does need a chance to shut down. And certainly for most people, you'd be looking at between 7 and 8 hours sleep, and that's a healthy amount of sleep. Much less if you're getting to sort of 5 hours of sleep or so, it isn't particularly good for your bodily system. So just to summarize there, some very, very quick tips. One is not to worry about it. Hopefully you will get into this rhythm, into this circadian rhythm. 2, if you do find that you're awake at night, get yourself up, read if possible, do something, try and avoid blue light, television or phones and things like that. And if you can, again, try and get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. We're going to talk now about basic things like getting out of bed. It sounds a little bit weird, but this is, again, is something that's going to help protect your back, especially if you've got lower back pain. Now, if you do suffer from lower back pain, if you've had a ruptured disc or something like that, this is the way you will automatically get out of bed, because it's the only way you can get out of bed. And it's rolling out of bed. And I'll show you now the technique. But if you've got a back that is a bit susceptible, especially first thing in the morning, to being very, very stiff and having limited mobility and quite a lot of pain, then even though that isn't there, then perhaps you should use this technique, because it stops your back from getting loaded with that additional stress and strain. So I'll show you the technique first. What I'll also show you in combination with this is another core abdominal exercise which aims to switch on the abdominal muscles to give you some support for that spine before you get out of bed. So the first thing I'll show you is actually the roll, if you like. So we're in bed, we're asleep, we're just getting up first thing in the morning, but rather than do the sort of get out of bed like getting out of like a Dracula's coffin, this sort of thing, which puts a huge load on your lower back, this is what we're going to do. So from here, you're going to draw your knees up towards your chest. Drop your feet over the side of the bed, and with your arms, you're going to push yourself up sideways until you're seated across the side of your bed. Wait there until your head settles, because you've just got up, so you may feel a little bit lightheaded. And then once you feel comfortable, you can then get off your bed. So for the second part, we've already done the rolling out of bed, but what you can do before that, and again this is a preventive measure and something you should do on a daily basis, and it's concentrates on the core. It's a classic BSR activity called tummy tucks. So sometimes if you see that on their card, tummy tucks, this is what we're talking about. Now what tummy tucks does, and we've already shown you one core exercise where you were seated, is it switches on your core muscles, the core abdominal muscles here. Once they're switched on, they can then help support the muscles of your back. So what tends to happen first thing in the morning is we're lying down like this, we suddenly decide to get up we go, and we're putting all the strain on the muscles of our back. That twinges, it squeezes down on those nerves, and if you've got a delicate back or a recent back injury, that can be very, very painful. So what I'm going to show you now is just this tummy tuck exercise that helps develop that core strength. So we do it whilst you're in bed, before you get up. So before you get up and roll out of bed, what you would do is you're going to first of all locate where these muscles are. And then their lower abdomen, so below your belly button, and you just want to be feeling your abdomen just below your belly button and above what we call the pubic bone. Okay, but just below your belly button, a couple of inches just below your belly button. Nice and relaxed. And all you're going to do is just tense those muscles, and you should feel them tense. You should feel the resistance come onto your hand as you just tense those muscles. And if you count out loud, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it means you're still breathing. So you shouldn't be doing this exercise holding your breath. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And the idea is you keep going until you get to about 100. Now some people will build up to 200, that's fine, but just keep gently increasing. It may seem a really innocuous activity. It's not like doing massive sit-ups or crunches or anything like that. But the idea is we're not working these big, what we call rectus abdominis muscles. We're working the deeper core strength and stability muscles. Very, very small movements. Big, flat muscles. So it will seem a little bit inconsequential, but over time you will build up that strength that provides you with that strong girdle that can help support your spine and reduce the amount of pain that you get in your back.